As we face the 21st century, I think the options available to us in terms of our identity are different from the 20th century. In the 20th century, if you like, it was the someone scenario, where in the West at least you defined yourself by your difference from someone else. We talk about him being a somebody, someone being a nobody, yeah? Nobody being, of course, undesirable. One talks about status, which literally means you're standing next to someone else. So when one talks about status, it doesn't have to necessarily imply a superiority, but more a difference, or how you relate yourself to someone else. You define yourselves in relations to others, and one wants to be acknowledged, one wants to feel a somebody. You strive to be a somebody, you do so by having symbols, whether they are designer clothes, whether they are certain types of behavior, whether there are certain numbers of people around you that symbolize that you're an important person. The whole issue in the 20th century of a somebody was a definition through interrelationships. Now, the problem with that is that one was never satisfied. Although you were an individual, you weren't fulfilled. You were in a constant arms race to have the kitchen that was as individual as you are. Then your neighbor has the same kitchen, so you then have to... And advertising, of course, knew this. Advertising, Bernays, who was the nephew of Freud, knew that people would buy things because it would say something about you. Not because you needed it, but because you wanted to transmit that you were better than someone else usually. Yeah. So this has led to depression. There's a wonderful book by someone called Oliver James that's just come out called Affluenza, which actually charts how we are far less happy than we were in the middle of the 20th century, because now we have lots of material goods, more people are aspirational, but somehow it's not making people fulfilled. They're personal, but they're not fulfilled. The other option in the 20th century, one that's carried through, is the collective identity. Now, this is very interesting because it has its roots, if you like, in Marxism or fascism. Interestingly, one putting emphasis on environment, Marxism, the other on the genes as fascism, but the same idea, which was as a collective narrative where the individual was subsumed under the greater story, the struggle of the workers against the capitalist imperialists, or the struggle of the Aryans against this global Zionist conspiracy. Notice it's always a David and Goliath struggle, where the poor oppressed minority has to fight against all odds to combat the evil, larger, stronger forces. But what's happened now is, of course, things are more overtly religious in some areas. But in all cases, in these fundamentalist mentalities, what you have is an emphasis on the collective story, where the individual is just part. In fact, in extreme examples, so irrelevant they can blow themselves up in favor of the collective narrative. It's captured very well in a wonderful book by someone called Sebastian Haffner, documenting the rise of Hitler, where he said that just after the First World War in Germany, where he was living, people initially subscribed to football because that was a way you could have an identity. You supported Düsseldorf or Frankfurt or something because you had nothing in your private life at all. No personal narrative. You own nothing. Nothing to define you. No status. So you could acquire status and a significance to your life by being part of the collective. Yeah? And of course, Hitler came along and had an even more potent narrative, even made you feel even more important, more special. But you're part of that big narrative, as I fear in some extreme fundamentalist cases we see today. So that's, I would call that the anyone scenario, where you could be anyone, but you're part of this wider collective. Again, you might be fulfilled, but you're not an individual. Yeah. So then the third possibility, which I think is new to this century, which was born at the end of the last, is a technoism. It's where one is sitting in front of a screen saying yak and wow, or one is an avatar, has a false identity on Second Life. Or indeed, you are a collective as you subscribe to Wikipedia, or write the book Mass Creativity, or engage in open source computing. There seems to be a great appeal at the moment for a collective identity through the screen. And I'm not saying that they're fundamentalist, but there is perhaps a certain parallel between a peace of mind and a relief of being part of a group rather than an individual. And let's not ever underestimate that as part of human nature, but I think that's more. But now there's other options like a false identity of the avatar, or no identity at all, where you're just sitting there having experiences saying yakamau and yakamau. Now that, I think, is neither fulfilled nor individual, but it's an option there. And I'd call that the no one scenario. Now, these three scenarios, on any of them, I don't think what we would want particularly, which is why I think the fourth scenario that we should be concentrating on is to how we can be both individual and fulfilled. And for me, that comes through the aha moment, the eureka moment, that we could call creativity. I don't want to imply that everyone's got to write symphonies or be a Mozart or a Picasso, but creativity in an everyday sense, everyday creativity, where you're having an original insight, an original thought, a new way of seeing the world, a new way of looking at things. And I think that's a very exciting sensation. By the same token, one could say you don't want that all the time, because you'll be like these West Coast people, egocentric and eccentric. And again, that's not a society you want, where everyone is so creative that they don't think about other people. So my answer is that you really need all four scenarios. You need times when you do function as a group. You need times when you are an individual and you are achieving things, because that gives you a sense of fulfillment. You need times when you can let yourself go, not necessarily in front of a screen, but literally let yourself go with drugs, sex and rock and roll, wine, women and song, all the traditional pursuits where you abrogate the sense of self, and times when you want to be creative. And I think, for me, the secret of identity in the 21st century is to have this portfolio of no one, someone, anyone, and eureka.